Welcome to Community Focus. My name is Patrick Ross, and my guests today are Greg and Julie Coon. Greg and Julie live in Plano, where Greg has a successful video production company, and Julie, until recently, has been a stay-at-home mom raising their two daughters, who are now in college. We're in the studio to talk about the subject of sudden cardiac arrest and about Cardiac Crusade, the nonprofit organization Greg and Julie founded in response to a rather harrowing incident in their own lives. So, Greg, tell me, what is Cardiac Crusade all about?
The purpose of Cardiac Crusade is to get AED locations listed on your smartphone.
Why do we need that?
When someone has a cardiac arrest, every second matters between life and death. So first thing, if someone has a cardiac arrest, call 911. Number two, start doing CPR and then have someone find the closest AED. The problem is that AEDs are not mapped anywhere. You see them on walls in schools and other public places, but do you really know where the closest AED is? So the idea of Cardiac Crusade is to have these mapped on your smartphone. The goal ultimately is to get AED locations listed on Apple Maps and Google Maps.
That sounds like a big job. What was the impetus behind getting involved in this project?
Julie was at Plano Senior High School, and she was doing some volunteer work. She was with a friend of hers, and after they did their charity work at the high school, Julie and her friend were talking on the sidewalk, and from one second to the next, she just collapses.
Julie does.
Julie collapses, yes. And her friend immediately called 911. There were twin girls that were on a school bus and saw Julie collapse, and they said, hey, to their school bus driver, who's a coach, said, hey, this lady collapsed. And so he ran over there, the two girls ran over there, and the coach said, go get the athletic trainer. And she came over there. She said to the two girls, go get the AED, in the gym. So they ran to go get it. In the meantime, the coach and the athletic trainer are doing CPR. They come back with the AED and they put them on Julie, and she got the first shock and it didn't take. And then there was a second shock, did take. And at that moment, that's when the two ambulances showed up all at the same time. And all of that happened within 3 minutes.
How long does a person have after they suffer cardiac arrest before they have permanent damage? And what kind of damage would that be?
The survival rate of a cardiac arrest is only 10%.
Okay.
90% of people who have a cardiac arrest die. But of those 10%, there are many survivors who have real problems with their brain because maybe they didn't get a shock for 7 minutes or longer. Maybe they got CPR for, 15 minutes. And all that CPR is doing is just keeping the blood circulating, keeping the oxygen going to the brain and the other organs. So just because you're alive doesn't mean you're all there cognitively. So there's some real issues with survivors. Julie is an exception of the exception of the exception because she was able to survive with no brain issues because immediate action was taken.
That's fairly miraculous that you just happened to be in a place where people knew what to do and knew that there was an AED and knew that they needed to get to the AED and bring it to you. What are the odds?
Yeah, I was very blessed to be in the place that I was. And it's ironic because the friend of mine who invited me to go to that school that day to hand out Susan G. Komen ribbons, she invited me. I would have been home.
You would have been home with no support whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people would go through that experience and say, wow, we really dodged a bullet there and move on with their lives. What prompted you to create this organization then, and whose idea was it really?
I was sitting at my desk. I'm looking at my phone. And now I understand the importance of knowing where AEDs are and that you need to get to them quickly. There are databases, there are websites that list a few, but there's no concise, universal location. Why is it that you can find a Starbucks in like 2 seconds and know the location, the map, there's pictures, there's, do they have Wi-Fi or not? It's like, why can't that be for AED locations? So I started a change.org mission, and a snowball happened. And this snowball got some media attention, and we've got thousands of people who've signed up for this. Yes, let's get AED locations listed on Google Maps and Apple Maps. So that's my goal, is to get it on those two platforms.
Do you think this will go national?
Our goal is to go national and then international. In our conversations with our mapping company, we understand that companies location in Japan, Australia, and Israel have heard about what we're doing, and they want to bring it to those countries.
So for more information, people go to your website?
Go to the website, cardiaccrusade.org, and sign up for a newsletter. You can also donate and also become a Cardiac Crusader. We are gathering an army of people who will go out and they will first identify and then verify AED locations.
My guests have been Greg and Julie Coon talking about the organization they founded called Cardiac Crusade. And be listening for part 2 of this interview when we'll talk to Greg and Julie more about the subject of cardiac arrest itself. For Community Focus, I'm Patrick Ross. Thank you for listening.